everyone. So today we will discuss the chapter Moving Charge and Magnetism, which is chapter number 4 of class 12. So here in this lecture we'll cover the topics Biot-Savart law, Ampere-Circuital law and their applications. So firstly, before getting into Biot-Savart law, I hope all of you are familiar with magnetic field, right? So what is a magnetic field? Now you are familiar with a magnet, right? North, south. So the space around a magnet where a magnetic force can be experienced by any other magnetic substance, we call that as a magnetic field, right? So what are magnetic substances? Magnetic substance like iron, then you have steel, nickel. Okay, so those are attracted by magnet. So the magnetic substance, they experience a force when they come near a magnet. So we can say that this magnet has a field around it. Okay, so which you call as magnetic field. Also, in this chapter, we'll see that, in Oester's experiment. In the second video, I'll cover that. So in Oester's experiment, you'll see that a wire carrying a current I that also produces a magnetic field around it. Now, the direction of this magnetic field can be determined by using right hand thumb rule. Say in this case, in this particular situation we are talking about, here if you place your thumb along this and along the direction of the current in the wire, then you will see the direction in which your finger curls, that will show you the direction of the magnetic field. So in this case, the direction of the magnetic field will be this. Okay, now so we denote magnetic field, or we also call it as magnetic field intensity. We denote it as B vector. It's a vector quantity. The SI unit of magnetic field is Tesla. Okay. So and the CGS unit is what? CGS unit is Gauss. So Tesla or Tesla, we write it as T. Okay, or Newton meter inverse, Ampere inverse. These are the SI units. The CGS unit is Gauss, Gauss. So what is the conversion between Tesla and Gauss? 1 Tesla is equal to 10 to the power minus 4 Gauss. Also, what is the dimension of magnetic field? That is mt minus 2 a minus 1. I won't be calculating the dimension over here, but you can easily find out by using the relation for magnetic force, which is F equal to QVB. Okay, charge into velocity into magnetic field. So B equal to F by QV. You can use this relation to find out that the dimension of magnetic field is mt minus 2 a minus 1. So now that you know what is a magnetic field, we can see Biot-Savart law. Biot-Savart law. So consider that a wire is carrying a current I, and we have to find out the magnetic field at this point P. Now this point P is at a distance R from the length element, okay, dl vector. Now theta is the angle between dl vector and r vector. So the in accordance with Biot-Savart law, the magnetic field at the point P is equal to mu naught I dl sine theta by 4 pi r square. So here mu naught by 4 pi is a constant whose value is what? Mu naught by 4 pi is equal to 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per ampere square. Now this was the vector form, this was the scalar form of the law. The vector form is dB vector equal to mu naught I dl cross r by 4 pi r cube. So these two relations are to be remembered. Now you see the strength of the magnetic field at the point P, which is dB. Okay, this is the magnetic field. This is directly proportional to current carried by the wire. So more is the current in the wire, more will be the strength of the field at the point P. Next, it is directly proportional to dl. It is directly proportional to sine theta, and it is inversely proportional to r square. So what it says is, like, greater is this distance r, or like further the point P from the wire, weaker will be the magnetic field at the point P. So this is one point which you need to remember. Along with that, the direction of the magnetic field. How do you find that? Again, right hand thumb rule, you align your thumb along the direction of this wire. In that case, you will see that the direction in which your finger curls is, it's like the fingers tend to enter through this, or from the right side of this wire, they tend to enter the page, or they try to enter the display, right? So in that case, we put a cross here. Cross indicates that the field lines are going inside. Along the left of the wire, if you talk about what happens here, here the field lines are coming outside. So here, in case I want to put the direction, that will put like this, a dot. Okay, dot indicates that the field lines are coming outside. Okay, so this is Biot-Savart law. We'll have some cases. Okay, special cases of Biot-Savart law. So firstly, we have next we have is magnetic field due to a current carrying conductor. Magnetic field due to a current carrying conductor. So you see, you have a straight wire which is carrying a current I, and we have to find out the magnetic field at this point P. And P is at a perpendicular distance A from the wire. Now let these angles be phi 1 and phi 2. Okay. Now magnetic field at the point P in accordance with Biot-Savart law is given by mu naught I by 4 pi A sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2. Now if you remember, you did this derivation in class 12 and we are avoiding that as of now. Now under this we have the first case, like if the wire is of infinite length. So infinite length. If the wire is of infinite length, then phi 1 equal to phi 2 equal to pi by 2. You see, these angles, like if the wire is of infinite length, this will keep on extending. Okay. So in that case, we will consider this phi 1 and phi 2 will increase, and we'll consider the values of phi 1 and phi 2 to be pi by 2. And if you use those values in this relation above, then you get B equal to mu naught I by 4 pi A, and it is like 2 sine pi by 2. Okay, therefore you get mu naught 2I by 4 pi A. This is the relation when the conductor is of infinite length. Now we don't cancel these 2 and 4 pi because mu naught by 4 pi has this direct value. Mu naught by 4 pi is 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per ampere square. Now the second case is like if the wire is of infinite, if the wire is of finite length. Okay, I'll just copy down this diagram. So in case the wire is of finite length, so these are direct relations. Okay, so in that case phi 1 will be equal to phi 2 equal to phi. Okay, so we are considering this distance A as the perpendicular bisector of the wire xy. Okay, now total length of the wire is like L, then half of the length will be L by 2. So in that case your relation comes out to be mu naught I by 4 pi A and 2 sine phi. Okay, so previously we had sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2, so we will get sine phi plus sine phi, which is 2 sine phi. So your relation finally you will get mu naught I by 4 pi A 2L divided by square root of 4A square plus L square, and the final relation is mu naught 2IL, mu naught by 4 pi 2IL divided by A square root of 4A square plus L square. So this is the relation for magnetic field at point P due to a wire of finite length. Now we have next magnetic field on the axis of a circular loop. magnetic field on the axis of a circular loop. Now you see we have this circular loop. Now when you say like axis of a circular loop, then we have to say you consider a point P and you're finding out the magnetic field at this point P due to this circular loop carrying current I. Okay, so again we are avoiding the derivation here, and the final relation, like this distance of this point P will be x, the radius of the loop will be r, and this distance will be a, which is actually r square plus x square to the power half square root of r square plus x square, right, by Pythagoras theorem. So the final relation comes out to be B equal to mu naught by 4 pi 2nia divided by r square plus x square to the power 3 by 2. Now here n is the number of turns in the coil. If it has one turn, then you will use the value of n as 1. Then r is the radius of the radius of the loop, and x is the distance of the point P from the center O of the coil. So you got this relation. I is the current carried by this loop, and you have A. A is the area. Okay, area of the loop. So value of A is pi r square. Now we'll have two special cases here. First case will be when x is very much larger than r. X is much greater than r. In that case, point P will be very far away. Okay, so in such a case, r will be small, then r square will be even more smaller, and we can neglect that, right? So case 1, if x is much greater than r, then in this above expression you can neglect this r square, and this above expression will become b equal to mu naught by 4 pi. You have 2nia and denominator is x cube. Okay, so this is your relation, mu naught 2nia divided by x cube. Now case 2 is like if x value is 0, which is at this is the condition when you see the diagram. If x value is 0, this point P will come at the center of the coil, right? So in that case, center of the loop, yes. So in that case, if x value is 0, then in the denominator you get r cube, right? So our expression will become b equal to mu naught by 4 pi 2nia divided by r cube. Now we had for A we had pi r square, right? So mu naught by 4 pi 2ni pi r square, if you use that divided by r cube, this will get you mu naught by 4 pi. Here we'll cancel that. Okay, we'll cancel just to make this relation very simple. So 2 cancels, so mu naught and pi cancels, right? So mu naught by 2 survives over here. So this is like mu naught ni divided by twice r. Okay, divided by twice r. And if n equals to 1, number of turn is 1, then b equal to mu naught I divided by twice r. So this is the relation for a magnetic field at the center of the loop. Okay, so this expression you can remember it in three different formats. We'll be using as per necessity. So little bit more is given in the PDF that I have shared in the group. So you can go through that. In case you do not understand that, you can just ask me in DM in direct message. So in general, we can write down this relation as, in general, B will be written as mu naught I by 4 pi r theta. Say we have a situation. The situation is like okay, so you have an arc, it is carrying a current I. Okay, so say this angle is theta and the radius is r. Of course, the diagram is not very proper. You can refer to the PDF. Okay, it is pretty clear there, pretty accurate there. So in this situation, like if you place the thumb along the direction of the current, then you will see that the fingers they tend to enter through this. In that case, the direction of the magnetic field is inside the display. Okay, below the wire it is inside. So if you need to find out the magnetic field at this center O due to this current I, then B will be mu naught I by 4 pi r. Say this angle is if this angle is 90, okay, like pi by 2, then here you use pi by 2. Okay, so I'm not showing the calculation here, just how to use this values. Okay, so this was an arc with the two radius making angle 90 degree with each other. We can have one more situation. This is case A. Say case B, say you have a semicircle. Say you have a semicircle. So in that case, this angle is pi, right? So it is carrying current I again in the same direction. So by using right hand thumb rule, you will find that the magnetic field is going inside. The relation for magnetic field will be mu naught I by 4 pi r into pi in this case. So four more situations are discussed in the PDF, and I have done those pretty elaborately so that you can understand. We'll get into Ampere circuit law now. Now, what does Ampere circuit law talk about? It tells that if you have a wire carrying a current I, then the total magnetic field around this wire or around any closed path is equal to mu naught times the current enclosed by the path. Okay, so in this case, the direction of the magnetic field will be along this way. Again, this is in accordance with your right hand thumb rule. So this is the direction of the magnetic field. Say it as radius A. So integral B dot dl, line integral of B dot dl is equal to mu naught times the current enclosed by the loop or by the closed path. So this is your Ampere circuit law. So the first situation that we'll talk about is at a point P, at a point P1 outside the wire it is. Okay, we'll apply Ampere circuit law. So in this case I need to copy the diagram, otherwise it will take a lot of time. So we are talking about this situation. So magnetic field due to a current carrying wire using Ampere's circuital law. Now we are talking about magnetic field at this point P1. Okay, so this is outside the wire, right? The second case here will be on the surface of the wire, like at this point. And will be the third case will be inside the wire, and that case we'll talk about this point. So inside the wire again we'll have two situations. So the first case at a point P outside the wire. Again the derivation is done in the PDF file. I'll go to the relation directly. So here you see that the radius, sorry, not the radius, the point P1 is at a distance R from the center of the wire. Okay, so in such a case, the magnetic field relation comes out to be B equal to mu naught I by 2 pi R. Okay, so again here B is inversely proportional R. So greater is the distance, weaker will be the field. Now on the surface of the wire, case 2, on the surface of the wire. So on the surface of the wire, your R, the distance of the point, and radius of the wire, which was A here. So these are same. So in such a case, your relation becomes B equal to mu naught I by 2 pi A. Okay, so we have just put A in place of R in the previous equation, in this equation. Now case 3 is inside the wire. Inside the wire. So inside the wire you'll have two situations again. Case A, if the wire carries current only at the surface. Okay, so in that case only at the surface means that you see the current is being carried through this only at the surface. It doesn't carry any current inside. In such a case, no current is enclosed by the path, right? So if no current is enclosed, then your integral b dot dl will be equal to 0 straight. So line integral b dot dl will be equal to 0 because no current is enclosed in this case. And case B, now here we are considering that current is distributed uniformly. Okay, so current is distributed uniformly through the cross section of the wire. So since we are talking about this point P2, you see this P2 is inside the wire, right? This can be this or it can be here also, doesn't matter. So this point P2 is inside the wire. We need to find out that what amount of current is flowing through this section by leaving this section. Now total current carried by the wire is I, right? So current per unit cross section area multiplied by cross section of the region concerned, like here this since we are taking this distance as r, so the cross section of this region concerned will be pi r square. So the current passing through this region will be, you see, I prime will be equal to I by pi a square into pi r square, and this will give you I r square by a square. Okay, so this is the second situation. So here now if you use integral b dot dl that will be equal to mu naught I prime, right? So once you put the value and do the calculation, I'm straight away putting the last step. So mu naught I r divided by 2 pi a square. So this is the relation when the wire carries current I uniformly. Okay. So here you see that B is proportional to R. In the second, on the surface, we had B inversely proportional R or A. In this case, both are equal. So you can put it as B inversely proportional R. So we have a graph for B versus field versus R. So the graph is like this. So here it is B proportional R and here it is B inversely proportional R. So this region, exponential falling region, is outside, and from center to the surface, center of course it will be 0, and center to the surface it is increasing linearly. Okay, once it is at the surface, like this point is R equal to A. On the surface of the wire the field is maximum, and after that it falls exponentially. So the applications of Ampere's circuitry law, we have solenoid. So what is a solenoid? A wire, or let me copy down the diagram from there. So you can see what is a solenoid. So a wire in the form of spiraling, right? In the form of a spring, you can say. So that is a solenoid. So when a solenoid carries current I, then it produces a magnetic field. You see, the solenoid, this one is carrying current in this direction. Okay, current is entering through this and it is coming out through this end, right? So in such a situation, again, if you apply the right hand thumb rule, right? Now what we will do is that we will place our thumb, right hand in such a manner that the direction in which this solenoid is carrying current in the downward direction, we'll put the fingers here. Okay, I am unable to show this. So I hope you understand. So in that case, the thumb will point towards the north. Okay, you'll place your hand in this manner. Say, okay, the diagram is very ugly. Still, I hope you can make out. So this fingers will point towards this, the direction of the current, okay, in the solenoid, and in that case the thumb will point towards this direction. So the direction in which the thumb points will show you the north pole of the magnet, and consequently the other side will be the south pole. So this will be the south pole. Okay, I'm erasing this diagram. So now that you understand how the current is entering and leaving the solenoid, and also the polarity of the magnetic field generated, now we'll straightway go into the relation. I'm avoiding the derivation here. All the things are worked in the PDF. So the magnetic field due to this solenoid is given by mu naught Ni. Okay, so mu naught, again, mu naught value is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per ampere square. N is the number of turns per unit length. N is number of turns per unit length of the solenoid. Okay, and I is the current carried by the solenoid. So this is the relation for magnetic field inside a solenoid. Now we have a couple of special cases. The first case is finite length solenoid. Okay, so in case of a finite length solenoid, again I'm copying the diagram. So if you want to find out the magnetic field at the point P inside the solenoid, now here again this corresponds to the previous diagram. You see the wire of the solenoid was coming out from the page on the top, and this is entering through the bottom. Okay, so you can see the highlighted sections. So here also it is same, coming out is indicated by dots, right? And entering is indicated by cross. So the solenoid or the current is flowing from top to bottom in the solenoid. So as a result, the north pole of the magnetic field generated is along the right and the south pole is along the left. So now magnetic field at this point P due to the solenoid carrying current is given by mu naught Ni divided by 2 sine alpha plus sine beta. So this is the general relation, right? Now we have infinite length. Alpha equal to beta equal to pi by 2, right? In case of infinite length, you see this is very long. In that case, this will keep on extending, right? In that case, we consider alpha and beta is pi by 2. So in such a case, B inside, In is inside, equal to mu naught Ni, like sine 90 plus sine 90, that will give you 1 plus 1 2, and this 2 and 2 will cancel. So finally leaving mu naught Ni, you'll retain mu naught Ni as the expression. Now near one end of the solenoid, infinite solenoid, is number 3, near one end of an infinite solenoid. So in that case, you see near one end, again if I copy this diagram, whatever queries you have, you'll DM me, okay? You'll send messages in WhatsApp. I'll try to respond. Okay, I'll respond within 24 hours. So you can send your queries around the clock. That doesn't matter, but I'll respond during the daytime preferably. So you see, in such a situation, alpha will become 0, okay? Near one end, we are considering this left end. So alpha will become 0 and beta will become 90. If you look at this diagram, if you get this point here, right? So since it is one end, alpha will become 0. This line will coincide with this, with the vertical, right? Making alpha 0, and beta will become 90 degree. So once we use those values, alpha equal to 0 and beta equal to pi by 2 in the above relation, so B end equal to mu naught Ni by 2 sine 0 plus sine pi by 2, and that gives you mu naught Ni by 2. So you can see that magnetic field at the end of a solenoid is just half of the magnetic field inside the solenoid. So the next application is toroid. So what is a toroid? Toroid is an endless solenoid, right? So if you connect both ends of a solenoid, then it becomes a toroid. So again, straight away we can write down the relation for toroid. We don't need this derivations and all. So the relation is just as magnetic field of a solenoid, which is mu naught Ni. Okay. So here N is the number of turns per unit length. Now toroid is an endless solenoid. Now here the length of the toroid is what you see this diagram. Here if the toroid is of radius r, then the length will be 2 pi r, right? So number of turns per unit length, when we talk about, it is mu naught Ni by 2 pi r. So this is the other expression for that. Now if you look into this diagram, so here you see that the wire, the solenoid, the toroid, through the toroid the current is entering through this wire, okay, and it is going in this manner, right? Now through this part, because the section behind is not shown over here. Now through this part the current is going downwards, you can see. So here it is coming out and here it is entering, right? So in this diagram on the right you can see the dots are placed over here, which indicates that the current is coming out, and here the current is entering. Okay, so in such a case, again, if you use the right hand thumb rule, then you'll see that if you place your fingers, okay, along the direction of this wires carrying current, then you'll see that the thumb is pointing upwards, okay, indicating that magnetic field will be produced in the middle of the toroid and it will be directed upwards. Okay, B. The strength of this magnetic field is given by mu naught Ni, just as a solenoid. So I'm closing here. This session is over. In the next session, we'll discuss force on a moving charge, and uh, we'll discuss force on a moving charge and galvanometer and parallel wire carrying current. We'll see that in the third lecture. Thank you.